everybody, it's Melanie from Mel's Inky Fingers, and I am here to share the January 2026 Creatively Inked bonus card. You will all receive this really great card in your kits this month, and as you know, we are focusing on all guy cards, and this is a really great card with a neutral background and pops of color with the designer series paper, and it's easy to make with whatever scraps you have left after you're creating. So I have a couple variations here so that you can see how it looks with using some of the different designer series paper scraps, and you just really can't go wrong with this nice neutral background. So let's talk a little bit about how we are going to create this. So you are going to use your Nature's Symphony stamp set. The dies are not used on this card, so it's really easy to pull in the cool sentiments in this stamp set. But I also pulled in the coordinating Exploring Nature stamp set. So I love this Hello Sunshine stamp. I've been using it a ton, and I thought it would be really cute to pull it in on this project as well. So I've combined these. So you've got Hello Sunshine and Thank You and To a Great Guy. You could even use the You Make Me Smile stamp. Lots of combinations that you can pull together here to make this really great card. So let's take a look at the supplies that I used to create it. And my hope is that you'll try this as well. So this is a crumb cake card base. It's 4 1/4 by 11 inches. I have scored it at 5 1/2 inches. So this will be a top folding card base. Then I pulled in a 4-inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of crumb cake that I've embossed with the birch wood 3D embossing folder. So this wood texture works really great with our theme of masculine cards, and it just kind of makes a nice warm grounded backdrop for our focal element, which was created by die cutting a piece of crumb cake with the textured notes dies, and I use this 3rd largest die. You can see these are like a craft room staple. Each of these includes a different textured edge. I love these. I use them a ton. I use them so much, I actually have 2 sets there. It's a really awesome die set. So this is the detail that will be on the layer we're going to use, and hopefully, come on camera, hopefully the camera is picking that up. Then I pulled in a piece of Pretty Peacock, and you could easily change this up to match whatever designer series paper you wanted to use. So if you look at this, this is a very neutral color palette. You could use any patterned paper that you have on hand and then change up this layer. And this layer is just big enough to fit behind your die cut. So if you're changing up the size of your die cut, you can change up the layer. And this particular layer is 3 inches by 4 1/2. And then this die cut will sit on top really nicely, just like that, to give you that pop of color. So you can see how easy that would be to change up. Then I pulled in 3 scraps of designer series paper. These are 1 inch wide, and they're 2 1/4 inches long. Let me just double check. Sorry, 2 1/2 inches long, and they're just wide enough to sit inside the decorative edge on this die cut here from the textured notes die. So you can kind of see which order you would like your color. There's no right or wrong here. You can pair it up however you want. You could even do 3 of the same pattern if you wanted. And then in this space down here, I chose to stamp the sentiment. And that's where I pulled in the Nature Symphony stamp set, and I stamped the To a Great Guy right down here. And I pulled in the ink to match this background layer. So I pulled in Pretty Peacock. So we'll stamp in Pretty Peacock. Now, if you have a different designer series paper that you're using, you could use whatever strips here and change your background color to coordinate. And then whatever this background layer is, that's the color ink that I would pull in. Make it really easy to coordinate this. All right, so let's assemble this. So let's start by putting this together. I'm going to use some liquid glue so that I can slide these into place. I should have stamped my sentiment first, because if I goofed it up, I could have covered it up with paper. All right, so I'm going to put this dark one up on top, I think, because then that'll help offset the dark ink on the bottom. And then we'll do the lighter one in the middle. You could also do dark, medium, and light if you wanted to. Like I said, there's no right or wrong here. And then after you have these on, this liquid glue just gives you a little bit of time to shift these into place, which is why I like using liquid glue on pieces like this, where you can really arrange these to line them up perfectly. All right, and then when you're happy, I'm just going to turn it over and push them down into place really well. And now you have this layer all ready. So now I'm going to take my ink. So here's my pretty peacock ink, and I'm going to add my sentiment down here. And here's the To a Great Guy stamp. So let's ink this up and stamp that right in the center here. Makes a really cute layer. And then before I add this to my colored layer, I'm going to bring in some linen thread. I use linen thread a ton. It's one of my absolute favorites. And I like it because you can use it on just about any card, and it's a great choice. You can even color it with Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to wrap this around twice, and then I'm going to give myself enough linen thread so that I can tie a bow. And then I'm going to put the bow on offset to the left. So I'm going to put that bow over here. All right. Whoops. Let's try again. Okay, and then once you're happy with your bow, I like to take my ends like this and pull down while holding that knot. And then it kind of sets your bow in a really nice position. And then you can trim the ends as short as you would like them. All right. And now we can add that to our layer. And we're going to add this on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So let's put a couple here and a couple here. I find that the backings come off your dimensionals easier if you give them a good push down onto the layer so they adhere nice. I feel like it helps those release pieces pop off nice. Right, so there's our layer. It comes together really easily, doesn't it? So now let's bring in our embossed layer and our card base. So I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal and and put this, I just put together so many of these and the paper didn't tear at all. I'm not sure what that's all about. So let's add on this embossed layer, and then we're going to add this to the front. So we'll put that in the center. There we go. All right, and then last but not least, to finish off this front, I'm going to bring in some of these cool metallic bronze pentagon embellishments, and we'll add a couple of those on here. So maybe a big one and a little one. You can do 2 or 3 or however many you want. Maybe one up there. Isn't that cool? I think those are really cool embellishments. So now let's move to the inside. So we're going to stamp our sentiment on the inside, and we're going to do something a little fun. So I'm going to not only use the pretty peacock ink, but I'm going to bring in some Versamark, and I'm going to do a double sentiment. So I'm going to take the main sentiment, which is this really cute Hello Sunshine stamp from the bonus stamp set. Now, this Exploring Nature stamp set is part of the Nature Walk suite, but you are going to find this back further in the catalog where they have some of the memory keeping products, and they bring that in and show it with the paper that has the sticker sheet that coordinates with it. And I'll show you where that is in the catalog here in just a moment. But I'm going to take this little tiny thank you stamp that's here in the main stamp set. So we have To a Great Guy that was on the front. Thank you. And I'm going to use Versamark because I want this to be really subtle. And I am just going to repeatedly stamp this little thank you here in Versamark ink. And that is going to give you a really subtle kind of background word that you'll be able to see, but it's not going to pop out at you. And hopefully the camera is picking that up. And then to finish this off, let's bring some of the color to the inside by using up another scrap. This is a piece that's 4 inches by 1/2 inch. And we're going to put that along the bottom like this. And that's just the finishing touch to bring that color to the inside. And that is your project. So again, here's another variation. So I changed up this background layer, and instead of using the embossing folder, I used the coordinating die set. So this is the Nature's Symphony dies. And I used this accent die piece to cut some detail in a 4 by 5 1/4 inch layer. That's the same size. But instead of embossing, I added those details. So you can take a peek here and see which one you like more. And then here are some additional color combinations. So that one is very similar. This one uses a different piece of the Designer Series paper. And this one uses some different patterns and colors. Now let me show you where in the catalog you can find that. So I forgot to mark the page for you. So Nature Walk is on 39, except it's back here. Actually, it's not on 39. So here it is. So this is back on page 61. So you can see it shows the Designer Series paper with the sticker sheet. And then here is that additional stamp set that coordinates with the product suite. All right. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this card made. I hope you give it a try and let me know if you enjoy creating it and show me your version. Thank you.